Being added regularly, so keep checking in by clicking the store button on the homepage. Show your true colours. Click the Radio Show Limited store, open 24 hours every day.
Live from trackside, this is IMSA Radio.
Welcome along to WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca for the Idemitsu Mazda MX-5 Cup. It's great to have you with me. I'm John Hindhoff in the Global Broadcast Centre, and with a bit of luck and a fair wind, we should be able to say hello to Shea Adam, enjoying the beautiful weather this weekend at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Hello Shea, how are you?
John, wonderful here in sunny Northern California in Salinas, just outside of the area for 2.238 miles of WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. The undulations are what this track is known for, but it's the Andretti hairpin that people have to negotiate first. Tricky turn 2, then a long run. Turn 6 is another action spot where lots of people are trying to take advantage because there's now more pavement out of turn 5. But it's the corkscrew that is the defining feature of this track. Turn 8 and turn 8A running all the way down through turn 9, which has been another place where track limits have been an issue this weekend. And then finally, turn 11, the long run onto the front straight. That is where people will need to get a good punch out, especially in the Idemitsu Mazda MX-5 Cup cars.
So, well, it's been a brilliant season so far. We'll give you the grid in just a moment, but Shea Adam, give us the quick rundown of the point structure and how it stands as we come here. We've got a bit of an odd one this weekend because the championship leader, who starts in 5th, which is Connor Zilisch, he's not doing the full season, so he needs to really get some more points in the bag.
He's focused on one thing today, John, that is winning the race and taking the fastest lap to try and gain an extra 10 points because Gresham Wagner clawing his way back into this championship. Connor Zilisch with the lead, 1,200. In second is Aaron Jeansonne, starting second on the grid as well with 1,140 points. And then third, Celine Roland, who starts 4th on the grid with 1,050 points. In 4th, it's Wagner as noted. And then in 5th, Sam Paley, who's starting 6th. So the top 5 in the championship are in the top 6 as far as we are concerned for the start of today's race.
Let's take a look at how they line up. 26 starters. Glenn McGee did not put a time in, and Shea Adam has news on that.
Glenn McGee missed his flight coming out, so he was not here for any of the practice. And then yesterday, he managed to break an axle before he even set a lap time. So he will be starting at the back of the pack. 25th, he is joined by Heather Hadley, the Mazda Scholarship winner from last year as far as the women are concerned. Starting in 24th position, Hannah Zellers and Grant West just beside her. 22nd is Max Zapalski, who looked a lot more promising in the beginning stages of qualifying, but ultimately not getting in that fast lap. And beside him, Jean Jodouin. In 20th position, it is Peter Atwater. 19th is Zane Hodgson. 18th, Woody Hyman, making his 27th consecutive series start. In the 17th position, sorry, I lost my place there for a second, Anthony McIntosh. 16th is Jeremy Fletcher, running for Rookie of the Year. He's got a fellow Rookie of the Year beside him. That's Jonathan Newdorf.
And as we come towards the front of the grid, the top 7 rows have Bruno Smalewski and Hernan Palermo in 13th and 14th position respectively for Hixon Motor Sports and Spark Performance. It's a full row of Spark Performance drivers ahead of them on row 6. The 33 is Alex Bashura. He loves to race through a field. Bryce Cornet is alongside him. On the next row forward, Thomas Annunziata, not the best rookie, in 9th position for Hixon Motorsport. He's got Matthew Dirks alongside him for Macumbi Macaleer Racing. It's one row further ahead where we find our leading qualifier for the rookies. In 7th position, Nate Cicero for Macumbi Macaleer Racing, and Robert Noaker Racing has Robert Noaker in position number 8. 3rd row, Connor Zilisch, championship leader for Hixon Motor Sports, but will Nick miss the next 6 races? Only comes back for Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. Sam Paley, former Rookie of the Year, so 2 former Rookies of the Year there on row 3. Sam racing this year for Macumbi Macaleer Racing. On to the front 2 rows, Jared Thomas, the number 96, JTR, former championship winner with Celine Roland, the number 87 for Hixon Motor Sports alongside. Gresham Wagner, another former champion for Spark Performance on pole position, and with him is Aaron Jeansonne in the number 24 JTR Motorsports Engineering machine. So there we have the official Mazda starting grid for the Idemitsu Mazda MX-5 Cup presented by BFGoodrich. It's a big weekend, and there's something just intrinsically correct about the Mazda MX-5s at a circuit that down through the years has been so well linked with that particular brand. So we'll wait for them to come round and start this race. It is a 45-minute race, which is actually quite a long race. I was talking to Connor Zilisch on Midweek Motorsport on Wednesday, and he was saying there will undoubtedly be an element of tyre management here because the fact of the surface being so slippery and also abrasive. So we'll wait for the MX-5 safety car to pull in. I love the fact that it runs in the old prototype colours, and a very colourful, bright, shiny field of cars led by Gresham Wagner is about to come to the starting line. Green flag is in the air for the first of 2 races at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca for Idemitsu Mazda MX-5 Cup presented by BFGoodrich Tires. Down towards the first corner, the pole sitter gets to the inside, and Wagner defending from Aaron Jeansonne and Jared Thomas. Celine Roland trying to make up a position there, but it is the orange bonnet with the green flashes. That's the number 5 car. Really nice start by Jared Thomas, who's followed the pole man through into 2nd place. They're in turn number 4 now. Almost flat through there. Sam Paley in the bright blue car. The number 24. Aaron Jeansonne in the blue number 24 in 3rd position. Sam Paley's dropped back a couple of spots, I think, as they head up to turn 5, and already a car off the circuit further back down through the field, side by side through turn 6. The number 76 is Matthew Dirks and Alex Pachura and Bryce Cornet in close company there. Down through the corkscrew, and really for the first time, and it's still Gresham Wagner who leads out. He's under pressure though from Aaron Jeansonne, and Jared Thomas, wasn't it, that came through into 2nd, but Thomas is having to defend himself from the number 24, the blue and white car in 2nd of those battling cars behind the leader. Then it's Connor Zilisch who's made up a couple of places. So as they go across the line, Wagner, Thomas, Jeansonne, Zilisch, Celine Roland, Sam Paley in 6th. Thomas Annunziata is the best of the rookies. He's got ahead of Nate Cicero on that opening lap. Then Robert Noaker, Alex Pachura for the top 10. And there was a little bit of bump and grind, I think, at turn 5 for the first time. They head up the hill, still with our pole man as the top, well, still the top 10 together here. This is absolutely par for the course. Oh, big drift into turn 6 by the leader. That's not going to do his rear BFGoodrich's any good whatsoever. So a hectic couple of laps at the start of this race, Shea Adam, and yet we still have the top 10 pretty much together.
And the top 5, John, are those championship leaders that we thought would be there. Gresham Wagner, Jared Thomas up into second, around Aaron Jeansonne, Connor Zilisch in third, and then Celine Roland hanging on. As it looks like Gresham Wagner's car not handling well at all, as the incident is under review between Hernan Palermo and car number 85. That would be Brunner Smoleski.
Still well over 40 minutes to go here. A little bit of a gap after the first 10. Jared Thomas has got the fastest lap share, and that is points, and that is potential folding money.
So every point counts. 10 points, real cash money. End of the season, we're looking at $250,000 for the championship winner, 85 grand for second, 50 grand for third. But the bigger thing that the drivers are thinking about right now, John, if you win today's race, that's 6 grand. That buys you a really nice dinner in Monterey.
Yeah. Even in Monterey, that would buy you a very nice dinner. $1.2 million to be handed out over the course of the season. Half of that in the championship positional, final positions. 250,000. I think it drops to 80, doesn't it?
85 for second.
All right, well, what's 5,000 between?
Amongst friends.
Yes, exactly. Just another good dinner out on the Monterey Peninsula.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, John, that I was talking to a bunch of these drivers yesterday. It's not the dinner that they're concerned about. It's the ice cream. It's the dessert. And particularly with Woody Hyman and Jared Thomas and Aaron Jeansonne, the JTR engineering crew, they have every ice cream joint picked out on the schedule, and that's what they're looking forward to when going to these tracks. Isn't that wonderful?
It sounds like a plan. Our dear departed friend and Roller would have approved of that.
Life's short, eat dessert first.
Indeed so. Side by side at the final corner between the number 72 of Connor Zilisch and the number 24 of Aaron Jeansonne. Jeansonne in the blue car to the outside, the right-hand side, as he goes across the line. They're down towards the first corner. Celine Roland following him through, and the other Hixon car, so the two green cars ganging up just a little bit there on Aaron Jeansonne, and he drops a couple of positions here.
Totally, that's what happened there. Aaron Jeansonne getting strung out, separated from his teammate Jared Thomas, now by, well, Connor Zilisch, and trying for Celine Roland as he drops a wheel coming through turn 3. You don't want to do that too many times. BFGoodrich are wonderful off-roading tires, but Celine, keep them on the paved stuff, please, as now Celine has lost a little bit of his momentum, and here comes Sam Paley in the MMR machine number 28.
Sam Paley, former Rookie of the Year, no stranger to sitting out ahead and mixing it up with the guys at the front of the field. Now this is dangerous. This is really dangerous for those following, because Connor Zilisch up to third, but a bit of a gap just beginning to open up with Gresham Wagner and Jared Thomas. Now early on in the race, the drivers even from different teams, they'll tell you they quite like, if they can break that big pack share down from 10 to 8 to 5 to 3 and now to 2, 3 or 4, that would be absolutely job done in the first half of the race.
And I was talking with Jared Thomas about this yesterday, because he feels like this track, that is Neudorf, Jonathan Neudorf, slow on the run up to the corkscrew.
Out of 16th position. He's got a mechanical problem. I think the car is hopping along, and this could bring out the safety car. Now, has he been off the track? No, it just seemed to stop on him there. That's really unusual in that bright orange and black car. He stayed out of harm's way, very gentlemanly. Good heads-up driving by Jonathan, but I don't think he's going to get that car back. It's almost as if he's out of fuel. Clearly, he couldn't be, because we're barely 7 minutes into the race. Now, race control are letting this run. He may be able to get to a place of safety, but that looks like the car is barely ticking over, or maybe he's stuck in a high gear. I wonder if he's stuck in a high gear and he just can't get the car to rev. That's brilliant. Brilliant work by Jonathan getting off the circuit there. And the top two are now a top trio as they head up to that part of the circuit that Jonathan has just managed to vacate.
Wonderful effort from Jonathan. I give him a round of applause for that. Came into today's race third in the Rookie of the Year standings and had gone purple through Sector 1 before that issue, John. So he was flying out there on the track, but now purple and fastest lap of the race. That goes the way of our championship leader, Connor Zilisch.
So that was in his quest to get to the front of the field.
Which he has now done.
Yeah, he's bridged the gap. And looks like Sam Paley and Aaron Jeansonne are trying to get there as well. Aaron's the next one to try and hook back on to the lead three to make it a quartet. Then
oh no, big penalty just came through from race control, John. Jeremy Fletcher, another man who is trying to get that Rookie of the Year honor. Drive-through penalty, incident responsibility with Bruno Smolewski.
That was very early on in the race. Well done to Jonathan Neudorf, who managed to get through one of the orange overlaps. You talk about it a lot in the driver briefings. Sometimes you get the feeling that some drivers don't always pay full attention to those, Shea Adam, but obviously Jonathan did, and the orange overlap means there is a gap to be able to get your car out of harm's way, and that's been done very nicely indeed there by Jonathan. Another big slide by Gresham Wagner as he tries to pull away from the front of the field. Jared Thomas, Connor Zilisch, Aaron Jeansonne, the number 24 in fourth position, almost on the back there, and Zilisch has gone through. Zilisch has gone through into second, and off at turn 6.5 really, was who there did a bit of off-roading on those BFGoodrich Tires. Was that Matthew Dirks that went off there with Bryce Cornet? We'll see who drops down the field. It was in that, oh no, it was the bright red. All I saw was the dust behind. Let's see if we can pick up which car it was, Shea.
It was Sam Paley.
It was Sam Paley, you're right. The 28 car. I am so used to him running black or blue, and he's in red this year.
Well, and Matthew Dirks today is in silver.
I know, shouldn't be allowed.
That throws us off even more. It shouldn't be allowed. Now, I trust Gresham Wagner. He knows how to win here. He did it the last two times we raced here. But is he using his tires too soon? I think so. And Connor Zilisch is going, I want to lead, because guess what? There are points for leading the most laps as well. And right now, Connor Zilisch has led more laps than anyone else this season. 41 to his name coming into today's race. Next in class, that would be Aaron Jeansonne on 18. Big difference.
Very big difference indeed. And the change of lead there at the hairpin. And the Andretti name attached to that hairpin. Those with long memories will remember when that didn't exist, and they just went straight up the hill from there to the corkscrew pretty much. Yeah, Connor Zilisch defending on the inside in the number 5 Mazda with the orange hood, but just drifted out of the apex, and Connor Zilisch says, thanks very much, I'm going through, let me lead for a little while at the corkscrew. And still Jared Thomas in third in that distinctive red car with the yellow FIA approved rollover cage, as all of these machines have. Oh, track limits there for Gresham Wagner coming down through really curved turn 9. And this top 4 in 2 groups of 2, but they're almost together, and frustratingly I would think for 5th place Nate Cicero, who by the way is back at the front of the rookies because Thomas Annunziata has dropped back, and not sure what's happened to Thomas, but he was on lap 2 or 3 at least leading the rookies, having come through from just outside the top 10. Been a good race for Nate Cicero. He's up into 5th position in that Macumbi Macanea Racing. Hixon, Spark, JTR, Macumbi, Hixon, Robert Noaker Racing, Macumbi, Spark, and Hixon for the top 10. So you can see the teams that we call our super teams here, and fair play indeed to Robert Noaker in that Singleton entered car for being amongst some of the biggest teams in this championship.
For sure, and cast your mind back to St. Pete. It was a rough weekend for Macumbi-Mackellar Racing with 3 out of their 4 cars comprehensively wrecked. The team, which had to replace 8 frame rails, not to mention 4 doors between those 3 cars, getting everything repaired to come out here. Nate Cicero thanking them by being the best running of their cars right now in the 5th position. That was supposed to be their quote-unquote summer break, John. It didn't happen that way.
Who needs holidays? They are overrated. It's absolutely overrated. I would say, by the way, that Jeremy Fletcher has brought his Copeland Motorsport Mazda MX-5 in to serve his penalty for incident responsibility with that contact earlier on. So he has done that. That was with the... What was that with? That was number 85, wasn't it? Bruno Smalewski for Hixon Motorsport. Top 3 across the line, complete lap number 8, and head down to the first corner. That top 4 are just beginning to eke out a decent gap. It's nearly 2 seconds now to Nate Cicero, who leads the chasing pack from Celine Roland, whose pace has dropped off a wee bit in this middle part of the race, then Noack, and then Sam Paley.
Roland's gotten around Cicero, John.
Yes, he
now
has.
Let's see if he can drag back up to the leading group. Remember, this is Celine Roland's year. He feels that this is his opportunity to come through and win this championship after many years of finishing in the top 3. But Celine Roland has now obtained his commercial pilot's license. It's time for him to move on in the world and get a real job that takes him away from racing. He's bummed about that, but he's also excited for the future. But Celine knows this is his year, and he feels that he can do it. He currently is 3rd in points, and he is well within the distance of striking.
That's the multicolored car in 5th position. Celine Roland for Hixon. Let's see if he can close that little gap. Nice and smooth run to the leaders. It always puts me in mind, when these races break up and then come back together again, it puts me in mind of a Grand Tour cycle race where you get a breakaway, and then if the chasing group work together and don't hold each other up, use the aero, then you can close them down, and that's what those two need to do now, with Celine Roland now in 5th position. So he goes across the line. Then Nate Cicero. Robert Noack is about another second behind. He's not quite in the draft. I think they're catching that lead quartet very gently. And there is the number 76, normally in the Air Force colours and the camouflage colours, but Matthew Dirks from Macumbi-Mackellar Racing is well off the circuit down at the final corner. Now that's an odd one, because it almost looks like he's gone straight on, and the full course yellow surely must come out, and does come out with just on 29 minutes still to go. That's a very odd one. I would be surprised if he had not got some assistance to be there. Interesting new colour scheme. He's still got all the rivets on the car, but it has changed colour. Oh no, he lost that very early in the piece, going backwards into the gravel, and he's not driving that one out of there. No, well, he tried, and all it did was dug the back end down. So he's retained his USAF sort of World War II livery, but changed it to a silver rather than the camouflage brown or browny green that he normally runs in for this weekend.
It's a P51 instead of a B17, I would say.
Yeah,
now
very good.
He's evolved his World War II fighters, and in that era of aircraft, which is quite honestly a good thing. I like the silver on the car, and it looks really good in person too, up close. But yes, this has brought out a safety car which groups the field back up together, and the guy who's happy to see this is actually Connor Zilisch, because it means that he now has a better chance of retaining the 10 bonus points for leading the most laps. The slower we're going behind the safety car, the fewer laps we're going to complete in this race. Connor Zilisch has already knocked up quite a few laps to his name. He's got about 8 laps leading the race. He's going to be very happy, because it means that other people have less of a chance of making 8 laps leading the race.
I wonder as well if this will perhaps help the tyres particularly of Gresham Wagner, who seemed to have gone just a little bit early and taken a bit too much out of his BFGoodrich tyres. They make fantastic race tyres, but this is a long race. 45 minutes is a long race for these cars. They have to start full of racing fuel, and Jonathan Neudorf up at the top of the hill has an opportunity at the top of the corkscrew maybe to get a lift back down. I think he's left his helmet. He's got the EMR IMSA Rapid Response Porsche Cayenne up there, but that won't be able to go off station, but he's managed to find a bottle of water, so very pleased that Jonathan of Hixon Motorsport, one of the rookies, as you said, he's managed to find a bottle of water and he's wandering back to where he parked the car. That was, you know what, it's terribly disappointing when you go off circuit or you have a problem like that. It didn't look like it was of his own making, Shea, but what really considerate and heads-up driving by Jonathan Neudorf as a rookie driver in this series as well.
Yeah, and he only started racing a couple of years ago at the age of 23. Jonathan's had a rough year so far in the first races of the championship at Daytona, 25th, St. Pete, a DNF in the first race. But then he's finished 9th in each of the race 2s. So hopefully Jonathan can keep that going and walk away with a little bit of money from tomorrow's race. That would be a very nice and fitting resolution for the young man who clearly is very heads up and deserves to be in this series.
So it'll take just, I think, to the end of this lap, because the good news is that Matthew Dirks, although he's dropped a lap, is rolling again. He's heading through turn 5 at the moment as Connor Zilisch in the green, blue and black machines comes to restart. The green flag's in the air with 25 minutes and 26 seconds to go. We're back racing, and that long 25 car train heads down towards turn 1, coming from a long way back. Jared Thomas closes in on the 2 leaders. He's in the red car with the yellow rollover cage, and behind him it is the 24 of Aaron Jeansonne in the blue car, then Celine Roland, and that top 5 immediately have opened up a couple of cars lengths between themselves and Nate Cicero. And this is what we expected, the guys at the front of the field, once they are all back together, who's going to use tyres, who's going to save tyres. Robert Noaker and Sam Paley having a decent scrap as well. Paley in the number 28 machine, and the black and white car of Robert Noaker is the 13 in the black and white car, excuse me, Sam Paley in the red car. And Noaker just ahead of Paley at the moment in 7th, then Annunziata, the second of the rookies, and Alex Bashura for Spark Performance. Quite surprised that Alex hasn't made better moves forwards. He normally loves to have a bit of a scrap in the midfield.
He is, and he's one of those drivers that puts his elbows out and goes very well here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca in the past. He's got quite a few starts under his belt, but give him time. Alex Bashura will move up as Robert Noaker goes way off course at turn 10. Now has to get readjusted and get set up because Nate Cicero smelled blood in the water, but he's on the wrong side to try and do the over-under.
Across the line, top 5 pretty much equidistant, and a little gap back to Sam Paley. Haven't really seen Gresham Wagner shape up for a determined pass for the lead at the moment. He seems fairly happy to be following Connor Zilisch. He knows, of course, that Connor isn't in the championship for the full season, as we've got a spinner for the number 6, the 26 JTR car. 15th position for the green-fronted car of Peter Atwater, and that's coming out of the first 2 corners. Might have lost that on his own, might have got a wee tap from, was it Anthony McIntosh, I think, behind him. Oh, he hasn't got that car started. He's found the windscreen wiper button on that car for the moment. Oh no! As I say that, what a lovely shade of green that is on the front of that car. Shame we had to see it when he was turning back in to point in the right direction. Change for second place at the top of the hill. Jared Thomas for JTR gets up the inside of Gresham Wagner, who was shaping for the pass for the lead, funny enough. Typical Idemitsu Mazda MX-5 share. You try to attack and all of a sudden you forget to defend.
And what a decisive, brilliant pass by our championship winner from the last year on the championship winner the year before. Jared Thomas making the move early, showing the nose, showing his intent. Gresham Wagner leaving him room, it does need to be said, but a great move from Jared Thomas to go up into the second place, and now he can look forward and try and get around Connor Zilisch.
Still 22 minutes of this contest to go, so just under half of the race remaining. We started with 45 on the clock, and we're doing this again later in the weekend. Remember, we tend to think that race one, the drivers are a little more circumspect and careful because they've got to save the machinery for race two of the weekend. At the moment, Connor Zilisch, championship leader, will extend his lead and he'll put another $6,000 into his bank account. He's stretched out to almost a full second there, about 3/4 of a second as he comes out of turn number 5. He's got the fastest lap as well. That's more points for his championship, but remember, he's going to find it hard in a championship that is so tight, with the top 6 coming into this race today within a single race victory of that championship lead. So he's gonna really do well to stay anywhere, even in the top 10 share, and get some championship moolah by the end of the season.
Yeah, and it's true because 10th place does pay $5,000, so you do want to make it up within that top 10 to get some kind of thank you for running cleanly throughout the entirety of the year. Connor Zilisch is going to have a really hard time doing that after missing 6 races, but he's done everything so far that he needs to do to try and gain every additional point. The problem is, as you mentioned, the people chasing in the championship, they are super competitive as well. And even back down into the 11th place in the championship. So one position out, that's Robert Noaker.
Yeah.
Noaker's in 7th right now. He's continuing to gain points.
Gresham Wagner trying to fight back on the number 96 of Jared Thomas coming out of turn 2, and it's almost 3. Mazda MX-5's wide into turn 3 as the number 24 of Aaron Jeansonne and JTR Motorsports Engineering sneaks the nose up the inside. He's on the quarter panel, he's ahead going into turn 4, and he will take that position, slightly ushering that Gresham Wagner car, that 87 Celine Roland car off onto the dirt. Roland fights back at turn 5, so this is the battle for 4th position. And great news for Connor Zilisch, because this fighting, this scrapping behind Shea Adam is allowing him to open up his lead.
It's creating a gap, and this is what we were worried about. Well, not us, the drivers at the head of the field. They know that there is potential here for a potential 1 second advantage, maybe even more. Gaps that we don't see in this series. Normally at the line, they're separated by 3/5 of nothing at all. Well, today, that could be a little bit different, and that's exactly what Connor Zilisch is hoping for. But you mentioned Aaron Jeansonne battling with Celine Roland. He's trying to get to the podium, because for Aaron, this is a more meaningful race weekend. He's got a new sponsor on the side of his car, Turn 2, which is a driving club that he is the race director for. They race here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, Sonoma, and Thunder Hill. It started out with 30 members. They now have 9 of these Cup cars, and it just keeps growing and growing. So for Aaron Jeansonne, a lot of interest, a lot of pressure, and a lot of people cheering him on this weekend, as Robert Noaker is now looking very closely at the back of Sam Paley, trying to steal yet another position. He's looking at 6th.
Nate Cicero right in behind that battle. He's in 8th, but he could easily be in 6th in the next couple of corners, depending on what goes on ahead of him. I'd say, even as we stand at the moment, I'm not writing out that Nate Cicero out of this. He's sitting down in 8th position, but only just on 4 seconds behind the leader. And if these 3 who are coming through turn 5 now, headed by the red metallic number 28 of Sam Paley, if they get their heads together, I would not be surprised that they can close in on that 4-car train behind Aaron Jeansonne. leaders have now become 5, actually. Jeansonne's on the back of Celine Roland, and Roland has dragged up to the back of Gresham Wagner, and all gets there and immediately tries to have a look down the inside of the Spark Performance machine. Down through turn 10. Oh, a mistake by Gresham Wagner. Dropped his left-hand side. BFGoodrich is into the dirt. Has to go defensively to the middle of the road at the final left-hander at turn 11. And here comes the 24 of Aaron Jeansonne. Maybe came out of the slipstream just a moment too early, but I think he had to, otherwise he was going to run into the back of Celine Roland.
Yeah, that would have been a serious drag in the brake moment as Roland is forced to the inside, actually goes on the pit exit. Not sure race control is going to look too favorably on that, especially if the pass gets made, which it now does. Gresham Wagner going far too deep into turn 2, now finds himself a victim of Aaron Jeansonne as well.
Jeansonne just repelled for the moment. We noted, didn't we, at the front of the field when the number 5 car was sliding its BFGoodrich's around. This is a very slippery but yet abrasive surface. People think that grippy surfaces are good, and they are, as we change positions once in and once out of the turn 5 left-hander. But when you start sliding the car around, the issue becomes you overheat the surface of the tyre, and it's really, really difficult to get it back. And that's what Gresham Wagner's found out. He's dropped down now behind the number 24 of Jeansonne, but pulls off a brilliant manoeuvre at the top of the hill into the corkscrew. Now down through Rainey. I'm not writing Gresham Wagner out of this, but it's so hard, Shea, to get your tyres back once you have overheated them. The intake of breath from Shea Adam was for Celine Roland, going down the inside to retake 4th position. Manages to get it done for a moment. We have 3 Mazdas across the track. Roland then will cross the line in 4th. Check that, he'll be in 3rd at the end of this lap. So he has moved up a position, but that really doesn't tell the story of what went on around that 2.238 miles between the 3 cars battling for 3rd, 4th and 5th. It's still Zilisch by 1.1 seconds now from Jared Thomas, who's got another 2 seconds on the battle for 3rd, which is now not just heating up, it's boiling over.
Gresham Wagner with the bit between his teeth, John, very clearly driving a brand new car. It was planned to get one for him from before this race. He's making the car's debut, and he is driving aggressive. This is the Gresham Wagner that we've seen in years past. This is what resulted in him winning a championship, and Gresham wants to win today's race.
Remember, this is a timed race, and we've still got a little under a quarter of an hour to go. 14 minutes and 25 seconds still to run. And that incident earlier between Celine Roland and Gresham Wagner is under review. Race control taking a look at all the angles that they've got. They're still duking it out at the top of the hill. Oh, this is marvellous stuff. This is why the IMSA paddock comes to a complete standstill when the Idemitsu Mazda MX-5 Cup presented by BFGoodrich Tires is on the track. If it's anywhere near a meal break, oh, big slide by Wagner again, and he's on the dirt. It's turn 10. Now that will really mess up his grip coming out of turn 11. If it's anywhere near a meal break, people will get to the hospitality units, they'll get to the catering and sit down in front of the screens and watch this. If they're not, they'll be on the pit wall on the top of the pit building, because this is close quarters combat, 4-wheel style. Wagner somehow has held on to that 3rd position, Shea, and I'm not entirely certain why and how he's been able to do that. He's fighting a tremendous rearguard action, but Noeka, Paley and Cicero are going to join these guys in the next lap or so.
That was the 2nd consecutive lap that Gresham Wagner had gone 4 wheels off at the exit of turn 10 and somehow managed to keep the speed going. He is clobbering the curbs. He is running over every surface that he could possibly find. And that's what it takes to stay ahead of someone like Celine Roland, who is a seasoned veteran in this championship, knows how to get it done, and now is looking down the inside of Gresham Wagner once again, but can't make it stick into turn 6.
Oh, it's Gresham Wagner off at 6. He gets the slide, he gets That's the tag slapper. Put the BFGoodrich Tires into the dirt, and he's dropped behind. Well down, he's gone behind Sam Paley. He's been struggling for grip as well in the number 7 car. So that's dropped him down to 7th position. Now, is that the cork out of the bottle? Or can Robert Noecker in the black and white number 13, can he get onto the back of the number 24, Aaron Jeansonne, and bring with him Sam Paley and Nate Cicero? In fact, actually, it's Cicero now ahead of Sam Paley, so Paley's dropped back. I think he's struggling for grip as well. Turn 7 was where it all went wrong. Turn 6, excuse me.
Turn 6, yeah.
Hit the inside curb, and that was what put Gresham Wagner offline. Far too close to the inside curve with his left front BFGoodrich. The car bottomed out there. There is a compression there. And I don't think it's, I mean, he's been controlling that car brilliantly with grip that is clearly diminishing, and he's going to have a job on his hands in the next 11.5 minutes. But that frees up now the number 87 of Celine Roland and Aaron Jeansonne in this battle for 3rd. Then Noecker in the black, white and purple car. He's up to 5th. Nate Cicero's the top rookie in 6th, and Sam Paley, who I think also has been struggling for grip. Reports of him sliding around and drifting off track, which is very odd for Sam, because he's normally a very smooth driver indeed. He's just at the back of the pack in the 2nd of the red metallic cars in this little group.
2nd of the MMR cars, which means, John, if they can work with Robert Noecker or even just stay within themselves, they can make it back up to this front pack. But the problem is Connor Zilisch is a 2nd clear of Jared Thomas, who is 4.3 seconds ahead of Celine Roland and Aaron Jeansonne.
Bear in mind, we normally count winning margins in Idemitsu Mazda MX-5 by 0.0 something of a second, and more than the odd once or twice, it's been 0.00 something of a second. To have a full second between the first 2 cars is absolutely extraordinary. Now, that said, we've still got 10.5 minutes to go. Oh, now, 3rd place, Celine Roland. Track limits warning. So he is under scrutiny, and if he transgresses again, he will be down a pit lane for a drive-through. So now, what can Aaron Jeansonne do to push him into a mistake? Meantime, at the front of the field, Connor Zilisch had a second. It's now closed down. Where did that second go, Shea Adam, for Connor Zilisch?
Well, that's what I'm just asking. How did that happen? Because we were just talking about the fact that Zilisch was 1.2 seconds clear of Jared Thomas. Now it's gone. It is 0.2 of a second between the lead and then Celine Roland and Aaron Jeansonne. This could be exactly what Celine Roland needed, because this could take the speed away from the leading 2. Connor Zilisch now has to worry about Jared Thomas.
Just wonder if, though, that second group stop fighting against themselves and between themselves, can they pull onto the back of the lead pair? 1:41.5 last time around for Connor Zilisch, a 40.7 from Jared Thomas. Well, there's the answer.
Yeah.
3/4 of a second right there, and it's nothing now. The gap is not even a quarter of an MX-5. Great battles for the lead, for 3rd and for 5th. Groups of cars. Not the big pack battle for the lead that we sometimes see here. Down towards the first corner. 21 laps into this race. 45 minutes we started with on the clock. And that gap between the first 2 and the second 2, nearly 5 seconds now. That said, we've seen stranger things happen. Oh, now we've got a 4-car battle. 4-car battle for the last 2 spots. The last spot on the podium, excuse me. At the moment, it's Celine Roland who'd be stepping onto the 3rd place podium position.
For the first time this year.
Yes. Noecker has, I think, driven really sensibly here. He's taken his time to get back to this group, and I wonder if he's been saving a little bit of performance for the end of this race. 7 3/4 minutes to go. Zilisch and Jared Thomas battling for the lead at a 5-second gap between 4 cars now, battling for 3rd position. Shit, Adam.
Jared Thomas hanging the tail out at the top of the corkscrew, managing to keep the front wheels pointing in the right direction. And he is desperate to try and catch up to Connor Zilisch and get a win. It's been a rough start to the season for our defending championship winner in car number 96. That's Jared Thomas from JTR Motorsports Engineering. Got the win in the 2nd race at Daytona, but at St. Pete, a 13th and a DNF to go with his other 9th place finish. That's resulted in him being 8th in the championship coming into today's race. Jared Thomas needs more wins to try and climb up further and to get that real cash money that we've been talking about, John.
Yeah, checks handed out. We're not talking about contingency.
No stipulation.
No, take it and run off to the Caribbean and buy yourself a boat if you want to.
That's what I've been saying.
Yeah, I know. Do as Jared Thomas did. He's built himself a little race team empire, hasn't he? Got a GT4 car now as well.
Yep, with his dad Dave, and Dave actually with the brilliant idea, hey, there's an SVRA race meeting the week before we're here for this race. Let's come out, let's do some testing, let's do some running. And that's exactly what they did with all 4 of their drivers and cars. So getting lots of relevant information for today's race. And look, it's paid off. 2 of the top 4 cars, they're JTR Motorsports Engineering cars.
Yeah, good point. And it is an open book at JTR. Spoke to Jared at Daytona at the start of the season when he was doing double duty. Not doing the full Pilot Challenge season with that AMG GT4 car, but putting more than a toe in the water with actually another driver from the season, Anthony McIntosh, this series. There's another JTR driver sitting in 17th at the moment, the number 69 car. He's having a decent scrap with Glenn McGree, whose weekend can only get better from what Shea was saying earlier on. But at the front, there's again, what is it? 5 car lengths. If you were a spotter, you'd be saved by 5 across the line. But Jared Thomas closes in. It's the accordion effect as they come under the brakes. Huge dive to the inside, the defensive move from the number 87, Celine Roland, in the multicoloured Hixon car. He's in 3rd, he wants to keep 3rd. Aaron Jeansonne in the dark blue and silver, number 24 for JTR. He wants that 3rd place. Noik is still with this watching brief, staying about a car and a half away. Now, has he got the pace to close in, or is that as close as he wants to be? That's the question for me. Side by side, Jeansonne down the inside into turn 5, rubbing, not quite, but way off the circuit for the number 87 onto that new piece of tarmac. And Noik is trying to take advantage there. Well, now he is right on the rear bumper of Celine Roland as Aaron Jeansonne is up into 3rd position. How will that be seen by race control? As he went all 4 BFGoodrich Tires off the circuit there, and he's made a mistake at the top of the corkscrew. Here comes Roland again. It'll be side by side through Rainey. There was a little hip check there, but the Hixon car was on the wrong side. And now you've got to ask yourself, has Aaron Jeansonne cooked his BFGoodrich Tires? Because that car doesn't look anywhere near as well planted as it did a lap or so ago, Shea, Adam, as they come into turn 11.
No, it doesn't, but I also think that Aaron Jeansonne couldn't see Celine Roland because their contact side to side pushed in Jeansonne's right side mirror. It also pushed in Celine's left side mirror, but Celine reached out and righted that option. So right now, Jeansonne driving effectively one eye blind.
Yeah, and you really do need to be able to see around you here. The leaders continue their scrap, and it's still Connor Zilisch from Jared Thomas, but all of the action is for the last step on the podium. Dark blue and silver car. Aaron Jeansonne for JTR. Could we have 2 JTRs on the podium? That's how it stands just at the moment. Nate Cicero, I remember seeing what seems like 2 days ago, which was probably half an hour ago, that Nate Cicero, who at that point I think was in 8th or 9th position, was not out of this fight. He's sitting in 6th at the moment. He can see a spot on the podium. He can see 3rd place. from where he is right now, as the leaders have closed up again. I reckon another couple of laps here, and that'll be it. We're doing 140s at the moment. There's 2:34 to go. Depend when they get to the line as to whether it's one more lap or two. Or should I say 2 more laps or 3?
The difference that you were just talking about there, John, between 6th and 3rd for Cicero, yes, it's a trophy, but it's also a $3,000 difference because he gets 1 grand if he finishes 6th. He gets 4 if he finishes on the podium.
Yeah, tell me that is not a carrot being dangled and motivation for anybody. He's easily the best rookie, by the way. His nearest challenger there is Thomas Annunziata, who did get ahead of him early on, but has dropped back to 10th and not really made up any space. And in fact, he's having a cracking battle now with Bruno Smolewski for 2nd in the rookies. That's the 2 Hixon Motor Sports teammates in 10th and 11th. The 10 and 85 car. We'll check that out in a moment, but we really can't take our eyes off this battle for 1st and 2nd, and then 3rd on down. 2 to go is what we're hearing from race control. Now, Aaron Jeansonne, has he got performance left in his tyres? And still, by the way, we've got Robert Noaker just got, yeah, I'm still here. I'm sitting in 6th. I'm here. Everything's fine. I'm in 5th now. That's great. I can still see a podium spot. He just doesn't seem to be engaging in any of the fights here, and maybe that's the right thing to do.
That's exactly what it is. He's sort of sitting there going, okay, I'm fine. I'll wait until the opportunity arises. And that is the difference between winning a race or winning a championship. You're taking the points that are on offer and then some. That's what we're seeing from this man. Oh, Zilisch very sideways through the corkscrew.
Managed to, I apologise for this, but managed to bottle it all up and get it pointing in the right direction. I'll get my coat. Get it pointing in the right direction. And in fact, if anything, you may have actually taken a little bit of room out, a little bit of space out of Jared Thomas in the 96, who drops his wheels off the left-hand side of the circuit. And it's not just the bump of dropping off the edge of the curb there at turn 10. It's the coming back on and the damage that can do to the inside shoulder of your tyres. White flag in the air. 2.238 miles for Connor Zilisch, championship leader. This is his last race weekend in this championship until the final 2 races at Michelin Raceway Road, Atlanta. He's going off to TA2 in Trans Am, where he's got a full season commitment as part of the Chevy Young Driver Development Programme. But he's going to extend his lead and bank another $6,000 as it stands at the moment, as again a mistake by Jared Thomas at turn 4 this time. He was out on the dirty part of the track. Thomas now can mount maybe one more charge. He's got to be super clean through turn 6 and close up towards the top of the hill. Oh, he's getting turning oversteer as soon as he tries to get that dark red Mazda to turn in. The back end wants to overtake the front, but he's closer now. Nail the braking point here. Get a good exit. They both do. The little 2-litre engines singing away. They're absolutely street stock, sealed by Mazda Sport. One more chance, maybe. Got to keep it on the track at turn 10, Zilisch in the JTR, number 96. And he does, but he's not going to be close enough. It will be the championship leader for Hixon out of turn 11. And the first of 2 races this weekend goes the way of Hixon Motor Sports and Connor Zilisch, who's battled his way to the victory from Jared Thomas, just half a second behind in third. Who takes, in second, excuse me, who takes third? Shea Adam as they come to the line.
Hang on to the final podium position just ahead of Celine Roland. Nate Cicero, the best of our rookies, finishing in the 5th place. And Gretchen Wagner, today's pole sitter, comes home in 6th. Connor Zilisch becomes not only the first repeat winner of the 2023 season, he does it in fine form, back to back. And the ironic thing, John, the pole winner of the last race that Connor won was also Gretchen Wagner.
Really? Interesting. Started down in 5th position and worked his way through. Had the performance from the BFGoodrich Tires. Best of the rookies, Nate Cicero finished in the top 5. just ahead of Gresham Wagner, who demoted Robert Neuecker. So Robert at the end didn't get to get his top 5 finish, but finishes in a very decent 7th position. And what did I say about Nate Cicero? Top 5 and the best of the rookies. So Shea will be doing the arithmetic as I give you the unofficial results. Connor Zilisch for Spark Performance ahead of JTR Motorsports, 2nd and 3rd, Jared Thomas and Aaron Jeansonne. Celine Roland, the unlucky driver, just off the podium celebration. Cicero takes the rookies from Smolevski, who ended up in 10th position with Annunziata in 11th. So Smolevski did get Annunziata for 2nd at the end of the race. An increased championship lead for Connor Zilisch in his final race for a few events. That's a great way, $6,000 richer, and he got the fastest lap of the race. Zilisch from Thomas, from Jeansonne, and we do it all again tomorrow. Join Shea Adam and me, John Hindhaugh, thanks to our team at the track and in Charlotte. Idemitsu Mazda MX-5 returns on Sunday.
This program is a Radio Show Limited production. For more, check imsaradio.com and subscribe to IMSA Radio wherever you get your podcasts.
The Radio Show Limited merchandise collection is now available. Click on the link on the front page at radio-show.co.uk. There's a variety of designs by renowned graphic and livery artist Andy Blackmore, including the Midweek Motorsport helmet, the RSL logo, plus some specials to commemorate our broadcasts from Le Mans and Nürburgring 24-hour races. All items are made to order by our partners Full Talk Gear. And to keep the best